When we want to save a file, we have to save it somewhere. As we said just a few moments ago, it has to be stored on some type of hardware. So let's take a few minutes to talk about storage and media. Remember that storage is not the same as memory. Memory is volatile, and storage is something that we call persistent. Storage can be something that is known as fixed or removable. Fixed is inside the CPU. For example, a hard drive is an example of a fixed drive because we can't take it out and move it. It's kind of like a library book that has to be used at the library because it can't be checked out. The other type that we have is known as removable media, and I think by the name you can understand that that's something that we can remove from either ports or drives on the computer, and we can take it with us. A floppy disk, a CD or DVD, a USB thumb drive, or an external hard drive are examples of removable media. Now some of you may be saying, well, wait a second, I can't take the CD drive out of my CPU. No, you can't take the drive out, but you can take the media, in other words, the CD itself. That's what makes it removable. These days, we also have some that are all-inclusive. For example, an external hard drive. That's a piece of hardware, and it in itself is removable. We don't take media out of it. It is both the hardware and the media all in one. Now, I know sometimes when you're talking to people or you're reading things, it gets kind of confusing about all of these giga, mega, tera things that we hear about, what's a bit and what's a byte. We're not going to get into all of the details because that's a fairly technical discussion. But just remember that computers measure things using them. One that you will hear an awful lot of is something called a byte. A byte is simply a unit of storage on a computer. A byte in itself is really too small, so usually we see it with some kind of metric prefix associated with it. Kilobytes these days are usually the smallest unit that we see. In short, a byte is the amount of storage it takes to hold one character. In other words, the letter A takes up a byte. See, I told you that's probably way too detailed for what you want to know. But let's talk about some of the prefixes. I believe when I was a kid, there was this push that the United States was going to go to the metric system. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly how old I am, but I think I was in about second grade, and now I'm far beyond second grade, and I don't think that has happened. But still, in a lot of scientific and technology arenas, we use the metric prefixes. So just as a review of something you probably haven't heard since you were in school, a kilo, or a lowercase k, means 1,000. Mega, with a capital M, is 1,000,000. Giga, with a capital G, is 1,000,000,000 with a B. And tera, which you will start hearing more and more of, is 1,000,000,000,000. So these are the prefixes that we can put in front of bytes. We can have kilobytes, KB, megabytes, MB, gigabytes, GB, and terabytes, TB. Often you will have files, for example, a small word processing document that could be in kilobytes, maybe 64 KB. If you're working with any kind of pictures, audio, or video, they're probably going to be in megabytes. Your hard drive, however, is probably now measured in gigabytes. For example, I have a 250 gigabyte hard drive. And we're already beginning to see some hard drives and some external devices that measure things in terabytes, which is a lot of space. So again, you don't need to remember about exactly how to calculate the math involved with this. Just know the range that they work in. Kilo, mega, giga, tera, and that each one is bigger than the other significantly. With this information, you'll now be able to save your files to the appropriate location with good names and also know about how much space you have on your media, such as your hard drive.